Hey, this is Dr. Elisa Medhus. Wanted to wish my son, Erik Rudy Medhus, a happy birthday today. I miss you so much. And to commemorate him, I'm going to read a bit from my forward that I wrote in his book, My Life After Death, a memoir from heaven. Erik Rudy Medhus came quietly into this world at 3 o'clock in the afternoon without so much as a whimper. He gazed around the room as if in awe of this new place where he would live for all too brief a period of time. When our eyes locked, the chemistry was palpable. I knew he would be a bright light in my life, and he was. As a child, Erik was so well behaved, often playing with his Legos quietly in his room, while his siblings were running roughshod nearby. Even when he was only 18 months old, he demonstrated a tremendous capacity for compassion. I remember the day I brought him home from the pediatrician's office after he'd gotten a slew of childhood immunizations. His thighs were littered with band-aids, and his cheeks were stained with tears. My husband asked him how his day had gone, and with his head resting on my shoulder, he said, "I have a good time." He didn't want us to worry about him. In fact, he frequently wanted to console us. Whenever I held and comforted him after he got a boo-boo, he'd pat me on the shoulder as if to comfort me. Erik grew up in a home in a Houston neighborhood with my four other children, my husband, and me. So our family was big and boisterous rather. There was never a dull moment in our energetic and playful household. Erik, third in the pecking order, was the mischief maker among his siblings. He loved playing practical jokes on them and often teased them with a sense of impish delight. His siblings weren't the only ones who were a target of his pranks, though. He'd often hide behind the kitchen cabinets and then jump out and yell, "Boo," when Rudy and I came home from work. Playtime with the siblings was always creative and frequently noisy. One of his favorite games was to chase them through the house with his whitey-tidies on his head while pelting them with rolled up socks. He also loved playing war outside with his brothers and sisters and some of the neighborhood kids, toting airsoft guns around and in full camouflage clothing and face paint. Erik had a beautiful mix of softness and toughness to him. He loved all things beautiful, especially women. He even asked his preschool teacher for her hand in marriage. He also loved anything with wheels, just like his father did. For that reason, Erik looked up to Papa, a stockbroker by trade, and he wanted so badly to be a part of his world of fast cars and faster motorcycles. As for the two of us, our relationship was very close. In fact, we could share anything with one another, and Erik had no qualms about discussing what other children would consider inappropriate dialogue with a parent. He even asked for advice about sex. I cherished that closeness and was amazed at his candidness and trust. Despite his happy start, Erik changed around the time he became 14. He suffered from severe bipolar disorder, an illness that can turn terminal, and in his case did. The light within him began to lose its glow as he entered his teens, and life here on earth became extremely difficult for him. Ours is an affectionate and caring family. Not a phone call ends or one of us leaves without an "I love you," and there's never a shortage of hugs to go around. As with all my kids, nearly every night after our ritual of bedtime songs and stories, I would tell Erik how grateful I was to have him in my life. And I'd recount all the things I thought were special about him. Erik had his good days, but even medication, therapy, and the closeness of our family failed to coax him from that dark place he tumbled into, where misery became his near constant companion. Because of his mental illness, his moods would frequently plummet to the deepest depths of despair. He'd sleep often in an effort to escape the pall cast upon him. When he was awake, he was often sullen and quick to anger. Conflict and drama became a familiar part of our family's life. Erik tried to appease his demons through immediate gratification. Maybe a new hobby would bring him a brief period of joy. Maybe a new bike. Maybe a new skateboard. These things never gave him the lasting happiness he sought. Instead, they only brought brief glimpse of sunlight before being washed away by the relentless rain of bipolar disorder. In addition, Erik suffered from learning differences and odd motor and verbal tics. Because of these, he was often the target of bullies, not only his peers, but in some cases his teachers too. His friends would let him down frequently, saying one thing, yet doing another, breaking one promise after another, pretending to care, and then talking about him behind his back. Sometimes they'd invite him over to chill, but then leave before he got there. I was often the sad witness to their cruelty. I remember sitting with him outside one day, listening as he called his friends one by one, only to have them pick up the phone and then hang up. In spite of how he was treated, Erik never hurled a personal insult at anyone. Sure, he got angry or disappointed, but he never tried to tear a person down by calling them names. And although his gift for compassion often went unrecognized, it never faded. He was always there for a distressed friend in need. He made himself completely available, saying things like, "I'm here for you. Do you want me to come and sit with you for a while?" And I'm sure that when he did sit with that friend, he listened well. Strangers seemed to gravitate toward Erik. I don't know why. Maybe they too sensed the good in him like we all did. People used to approach him at our local Starbucks, where he'd like to hang out and bum cigarettes. And they'd share their stories with Erik as he listened patiently and lovingly. When one of these newfound lost souls started to cry, as they often did, he would wrap him or her in a warm embrace and say, "Look, dude, you're coming home with me. My mom's going to make you a home-cooked meal. I made many unplanned trips to the market, but it was always worth it." Erik was also very open and candid. His conversations were peppered with his usual sailor talk and honesty, a sincerity that made him easily approachable. To him, words were just a string of letters. They got their power from the intent behind them, and his intent was always pure and positive. As a mother, watching his suffering was agonizing. It seemed like nothing I did helped, and I tried everything. I mean everything. Nothing done or said could soothe his pain. All I could do was watch from the sidelines, my broken heart in my hands, witnessing his illness slowly sap the life from him. Just after his 20th birthday, Erik died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. And that anniversary is approaching. Anyway, that's all I can bear to read, although there's more. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.